Hey, what's up, guys? Doogie here, back again, although, I don't know, I got called out, I guess, in my intro for the last episode. Ladies and gentlemen, how the hell are you? Doogie here, back again, with another episode of Draft to Glory Goon Squad. And in today's episode, well, we're going to do the same thing we do in every episode. We are trying to accomplish our ultimate goal of winning the Stanley Cup. Before we get into the sim, however, I have changed a couple of things. Now, I guess the first thing I'll point out is I went back into edit strategies. Now, I changed that up a little bit. Not much has changed about that. But with the forward lines, you'll notice, aside from shot blocking, that's the only thing I've changed. But you'll notice how there's kind of like this gradual progression as we go through the lines, as far as there being a bit more emphasis on dumping the puck and energy. Shot blocking, though, I've bumped that back up just to see if there's a difference. Again, I had that maxed out a few seasons ago. I lowered it, and there really wasn't too big of a change, maybe like a slight change. I want to see if there is a major change. Now, I have also changed up certain player types and, stuff like that. Obviously, was it Horkoff? No, it was Kaufman who we drafted. He was a two-way. We changed him over to a power forward. I changed certain players, position types to like center or right wing, so that would also affect the power play. McDonald and Roberts have both been changed to grinders. We're rolling with a couple more grinders on the team. Neil Green is the only enforcer at the moment. The one thing I noticed, though, was that a lot of these guys had fighting set to never or rarely. This is going to be very interesting to see how this season goes now, because we're going to live up to the Goon Squad moniker. I have put everyone's fighting to often. Whether or not that will actually affect this, we shall see, because I don't think Wharton had often. I think he was at sometimes, and he still had 30 fights. Yet he had more fights than Green, who is an enforcer who had the often tag as far as how often he fights. So we'll see if that affects anything as well. Those are the two, or really the three major things I changed as far as strategies, the fighting consistency, we'll say, and certain player types. Now, you might be surprised to say Zanetti or Kaufman, maybe even Neil Green, are on the lines that they are. I want to see what Cedric Horkoff can do with that 93 offensive awareness. I want to see if he can turn into a monster for us. Obviously, Chelios was in that spot for really the past 2 or 3 seasons. 2 seasons if he's 18. So there have been a couple of changes. We have a couple of guys in some interesting spots rather than them maybe being on the top 6, for example. Although really the only guy playing outside of the role would be Anderson McDonald. I think he's the only guy playing on a lower line than what the game recommends. The defense, of course, is looking great. Everyone's a defensive D-man. The enforcer style doesn't really match up to anybody there. And down in the AHL, we've optimized these lines as well, and we are going with more of that kind of typical style with having a medium elite on the top line. We've also changed player types and positions and the fighting frequency as well. So it took me a little bit to get this episode good to go, but we are indeed good to go. And actually one change with the goalie, I changed Brooks over from stand-up to hybrid. We'll see if that kind of affects his development. Aside from that, I think we have covered everything aside from maybe taking a look at the draft class. Now, while I don't really expect us to have a lottery pick, you never know. The changes I've made to this team could be a disaster, although we don't have any franchise players. That's kind of the main thing to look at. Tiny Bobelev. Now, some people have been saying that they feel like the name Tiny, or even in the case of Marty Dick, that certain names appear a bit too frequently. I do agree. Now, maybe I just don't like fun, right? As I simmed a little bit into the preseason already, and then I'm like, oh, hey, that's right. I'm making this for a series. Maybe I just don't like fun. I would like, as I've mentioned, region-accurate names are one thing. I don't want a Tom Jones from Switzerland. I kind of want something more region-accurate. We see that in FIFA, and I've mentioned that on numerous different occasions. But certain names, now I know you have names in the game, whether it be John Law, Clapperton is in as well. I know we got some fun names in there from guys within the community. That's fine. I think that's cool, and obviously I think it's cool because, hey, if there's one thing, as there's going to be a weaker draft class than normal, if there's one thing I want out of this partnership deal, this EA content creator gig that I currently have, god damn it, I want my last name in the game, or at least Toogie in the game. That would be cool, because let's be honest, unless somebody comes along, my last name is never getting into this game, and even then, there are players in the NHL right now who do not have a play-by-play name in the game at the moment. So I'm all good with, guys within that program, or even if they work at EA, having their names in the game. Now, of course, that being said, a lot of people will be like, well, what about Goon and Bunka, like we had 5 years ago? Maybe as long as every computer-generated player isn't a Goon or a Bunka. No disrespect to Goon or Bunkas. But names like Tiny, like when you constantly have people posting on Twitter, LOL, this guy's name's Tiny Wang, or, the Marty Dicks. Tiny Dick is a possibility. Like, why? Like, that's a bit too far. Like I said, maybe I just don't like fun, but the frequency of those names popping up is probably a bit too much. Especially considering, again, you don't really have that many region-accurate names. That said, that rant aside, I'm glad that was able to get us into the month of December. Funny thing, we still have one hell of a record right now, considering the changes we made to the team. Again, as far as dropping Anderson McDonald down to the fourth line, maybe not prioritizing potential as much, we're still looking pretty good. We did have the champions team status that is normally the kiss of death. Maybe this season it won't be, although obviously I am intrigued to see what the shot block, or the block shot counter is, and what the fight counter is for players on our team this season. And also, we're like 7 minutes into this video. No webcam for this, so let's hope something interesting happens. But after that kind of debacle, I keep meaning to double check some settings just to see why that happened. I haven't had any issues on stream, so I'm still not sure why that happened. But, I'll get back into doing videos with Facecam, maybe even for this series. But, sometimes it's just easier to kind of keep it simple, go with what works, and not really venture out of that comfort zone where I might have to re-record an hour-and-a-half video. If it was for a shorter video, cool. But for Draft to Glory, which the episode time averages over an hour, having to re-record this, not fun. As much fun as it is to, have this series, and when it comes to, what I do on this channel, I love Draft to Glory. It's still my most popular series, so I do love it, but having to re-record episodes is a massive, massive pain in the ass. I'm kind of shocked, by the way. No overtime losses through almost February now. At this point, that's a little bit crazy. The San Diego Gulls aren't looking like they're going to make the postseason, which is a bit sad. Of course, they made the postseason last episode and got swept in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. So you never quite know. We did struggle to find any AHL success in the original Draft to Glory run. Spoiler alert for that. I won't go into detail. I'll just say we struggled to find success, until we finally were able to put some pieces together. That's the only thing that I'll mention. For those of you who watch that series, you know exactly what I'm referring to. And if you don't, then man, go watch that series. Even if you watch the series, go watch it again. Draft to Glory, what a great series. As is this. Can you tell I'm kind of out of things to talk about? That was my one topic of discussion that I could really rant on, was the weird names in the game. But I don't think I'm wrong. Let's get more region-accurate names. Get more names in the game in general. It's weird to have NHL players who don't currently have the taglines. Or at the very least, bring back the option to kind of like piece a couple of names together, even though that was kind of abusable. I think that was more 2K, though, where you could kind of, piece certain letters together. I'm trying to think of an example. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. To kind of make a last name that might not have been in the game, or at least something close to it. I think WWE games had something similar too. That would be cool. We're 10 minutes into this episode, and we're already through the season. The joys of starting at the preseason rather than having to go through the rest of an off season. And we have hit the 50-win mark. Will we hit 51? We have one overtime loss, by the way. It was in game 80 of the season. That is ridiculous. Let's take a look here. Can we hit 51 wins against the Jets? Yes, we can. We end the season on quite the run of games here, winning 5 out of our last 6 and picking up points in all 6 games. That is absolutely tremendous. Nope, 7. I'm an idiot. I missed the Minnesota game. How did I miss the Minnesota game? Damn, 6 out of 7 and picking up points in all 7 games. There we go. I completely blanked on seeing that Minnesota game. That was very weird. I'm like, okay, Vegas, Colorado, that's not 6, dummy. So, yeah, 51 wins. We won the President's Trophy last year. Did we win it again? We did not. We didn't even win our own division. The overtime losses helped out Arizona quite a bit. Jay Graves, only 59 points as our leading scorer. You have to wonder if the fighting had something to do with that. Let's take a look, though, at the entire league. We finished 5th in the NHL. New Jersey with 116 points, my God. As far as goals for per game, we weren't one of the worst teams in the league. We look to be mid-table, which is all right. Goals against average was a 2.28, so Brodin might not have been able to carry this team as much as he did last year. Our power play was at 16%, which is surprisingly not the worst. 11.4 for Montreal. That is abysmal. 23 power play goals in 201 chances. That is awful. And our penalty kill was mid-table? Yeah, I'm not seeing it here. It must be mid-table. Yep, mid-table. 81.9%. 22, 18, and 1 at home. 29 and 12 on the road. 7, 2, and 1 as we approach the postseason. Let's take a look, though, at the AHL. The Gulls with 80 points missed by a decent amount. They were in a pretty tough division, though. The point total. We'll look from this menu because I want to take a look at the fights and everything else. So, and I think penalty minutes were up a little bit. Jay Graves with 59 points, 55 for Nolan Foote. Foote's at a 90 right now, by the way. He's 27 years old for us. Cedric Horkoff, with his rookie year, put up 55 points. Indeed, his rookie year. He spent the last 2 seasons in the AHL. 16 goals, 39 assists. We'll check the Calder rankings. Abraham Zanetti with 47 points, 43 for Chelios. He's currently at an 85. Kaufman in his rookie season, 82 points. Kaufman, depending on how German you want him to be. Wharton with 41 points. Kaufman, our only 20 goal scorer, by the way. Cedric Likens with 35 points and Nabokov with 34. I'll let you guys kind of take a look at the rest here. So the lowest scoring guy on the team was our enforcer, which is probably how it should be. Best plus minus on the team was McDonough at a plus 27. The worst was Finley, who was a minus 4. The penalty minute king, wow, Nolan Foote only took 18 penalty minutes. I guess that didn't affect the fighting too much then, huh, guys? Not at all. Towards the top half here, yeah, we had a lot of guys who took some penalty minutes. And McDonough with 144, Kress with 141. But not as many as I would have expected. As we'll take a look here at the hit marker. 174 for McDonough, 160 for Kress and Likens, 151 for Wharton. The blocked shots, we had 4 guys with over 100 blocked shots. Is that higher than normal? I really don't think so. And they're all defensemen who are set up as defensive D-men. So that's really not all that surprising. Fight-wise, that was definitely a factor this year, wasn't it? We had way more fights this season. Kress with 19, McDonough with 18. Our defensemen, oh my God, they're just a big group of face punchers, aren't they? Wharton with only 13 this year. So that definitely changed the outcome and the outlook of this team as far as the amount of fights we had this season. Although Jake Dotchin, still kicking around at 34 years old. I wish I could see how many career fights he has. It has to be an ungodly amount. As far as block shots go in the league, Bertram actually took it. Wow. Damn, man. There were some teams that were very, very efficient at blocking shots. Derek Flynn with 238 hits. What else do we got here? Penalty minute king was Dotchin, Fowler, and then Freddie McDonough. The NHL point leader was Nico Hischier at 90 points this season. The rookie race, it is going to go to Kent Andrechuk with 63 points, but a fairly decent showing by Horkoff and Frank Kaufman. So not too shabby. Scoring down in the AHL, I care more about the goals than anybody else there. Oh, let's see. Vance with 57 points. He was a playmaker that we converted to a power forward. Koski Ranta did well. Gustafson and Marty, all with 50 points. It's not too bad. Not too bad at all. Like I said, I even changed up the AHL when it comes to, penalty minutes, fighting frequency, or, with penalty minutes, I upped the fighting frequency. So I'm intrigued to see how many fights they ended up with. Not as many. Not as many. All right. So that takes care of that. We will look at the player progression, of course, before we get to the draft. So now it's time to find out who we're playing in the first round. Our locker room chemistry, though, dipped a little bit. That's a tad bit disappointing. Actually, you know what would make sense right now, I guess? Let me see if I can re-sign some players right now. I don't know who's got a contract coming up. All expiring. Oh, boy. Yeah, we got a lot of players who are going to need some money. You know what? I would rather think about that later. Yeah, let's think about that later. Let's just save that for that certain point. The 85% trick might work there. I still think we're at a point where not enough players are going to be asking for that much money. We still might have to give someone $20 million like we did for Nolan Foote to keep them here. But for the most part, it shouldn't be too bad. So in the first round, we're playing Vancouver, of course. I mean, that's fairly obvious. Not that I wanted to have to square off with the Canucks, because I'm sure they have a tremendous lineup. But, oh, damn it, I hit the wrong button. That's unfortunate. Well, you can kind of get a look now at what some players are looking like. I think Anderson regressed, didn't he? Yeah, he regressed a little bit because of ice time. That is unfortunate. Even though the morale system's not on, he still regressed by a tad bit. Damn shame. Kress, though, is up to an 86. My God, what a steal he was. What a steal Sebastian Kress was. I could bump up McDonald if I wanted to. I think I could swap him in the Backoff. I might, just to kind of cheer him up a little bit. Anyway, the Vancouver Canucks. Let's take a look at this lineup. We have Nick Ritchie with Dylan Larkin and Nikita Kucherov on the top line. Of course, Kucherov, despite being 34, will still be very dangerous. Oscar Lindblom is with Dennis Malgin and Pierre Desbiens. 6th round pick for Vancouver. Third line is Jimmy Vesey with Adam Masharine and Gabriel Cochran. Fourth line, Jussi Vahalati is with Marcus Johansson and Riley Sutter. On defense, we have Jake Bean with Aaron Ekblad. Good God. Brady Shea with Fred DePenta. And Jakub Zaboral with Josh Manson. The goaltender is Andrei Vasilevsky. How good was he in the regular season? .924. Right. You know, the one thing I didn't look at, though, was our goaltender. I don't know why I didn't look at Brodin. I'm sure he had an amazing season, considering scoring was a bit down for us again. And if it's to be believed that, the better your goalie is, the kind of worse your offense will perform to balance it out, which, to be honest, I forget who brought that up. You know who you are in the comments, but there is some validity to that, as we had a .929 this time, so Brodin didn't quite do as well as he did last season. But between Marcus Brodin and what we have seen in the Hartford series with Petrolainen, I wouldn't be all that surprised if that is the real deal. You know what? Let me go back again really quickly here. Really quickly. So 10 minutes of simming, 10 minutes of looking at stats. Perfect. We are on a good pace. Nabokov is a 4th line forward. For that reason, I'm going to swap him and Anderson just to see if that will help him kind of recover a little bit. And actually, let me go best lines. Really quickly here. Let's swap these two around. I just want to see if that will change anything with the power play units. Don't know if it will. We'll find out. I still want to swap those guys back around. Have the guys with better skating ability and better hands on the right, considering I believe all 6 of our defensemen are lefties. So we're going to get this series underway. Now, admittedly, again, I'm recording this after another stream, but I'm also feeling a tad bit sick today. I don't know, just kind of sinus pressure and cold. I'm surprised, actually, I'm not sounding as nasally as I have been over the past couple of days. So unless it's an elimination game, I'm not going to try and hype it up, and we're not going to be, over the top with the hype as far as like a third period. We're just going to go 1, 2, 3, no watching the third period, unless maybe it's a close game or we're in an elimination game. Now, we finished with 1 more point than Vancouver, so we do have home ice advantage. Hopefully, we can take advantage of that. First period of game 1, Jake Bean gets the opening goal. Second period, Kucherov gets a goal, and we're in a tad bit of trouble here. Third period, can we tie the game? No, we cannot. We were down 4-0 before Kaufman got us on the board. 4-1 final. Brodin unable to come up with that big-time performance, and our offense not able to solve the game of Andrei Vasilevsky. It's a weird way to phrase it, but you get the point. Not able to get too many pucks past Vasilevsky. In fact, they only scored once. And that might continue to be our downfall, of course, is the lack of goal scoring, which was always going to potentially be a factor in a series like this. First period of game 2. And Kaufman gets us on the board early. Nick Ritchie, though, was able to tie it. Speaking of people who would have been perfect for this series, Nick Ritchie. Second period, we have the lead. Sergei Nabokov gives us our first lead of this series. We're up 2-1. Can we get the win? Let's sim the third period. Yes, we can. Wharton and Graves with the insurance. We were outshot 37-26, but that did not matter. Brodin returned the form. He was your first star of the game. Nabokov and Kaufman with 3 points each. And we have at least taken a game in this series. The Canucks still get what they want as far as taking a game on the road to start the series, but at the very least, we did not drop both games. Game 3 in Vancouver. First period. And Marcus Johansson gets the opening goal, 9 shots to 8 in their favor. Second period is scoreless, and that sets up a very dangerous situation here in the third. We're out shooting them 26-16, but we still find ourselves trailing. I am going to sim the third here outright. Can we come back and at the very least force overtime? No, we cannot. A 37 save shutout for Andrei Vasilevsky. Brodin had a great game in his own right, but Johansson's goal stood up to be the game winner. And as I mentioned, goal scoring, the lack of goal scoring can absolutely prevent us from finding success when we're getting matched up against these teams. Even last postseason, it was a very rough first-round matchup. I do want to take a look at the lines here, though. Yeah, see, I thought that it put McDonald back on the fourth, or that I put McDonald back on the fourth. The problem is that third line's doing very well right now, and I don't want to change that. The second line, though, isn't really clicking. I think Chelios has a couple of fights so far. Yeah, that second line really isn't clicking right now. So, because of that, I think we're just going to have to stick with what we have here. So, McDonald, I'm sorry, but with Nabokov and Kaufman working as well together as they are, you don't have a spot anymore, buddy. And you had a very good postseason last time out, but we got to go with what's kind of working. I can't say in general that it's working. We find ourselves down 2-1. It's time for game 4. Can we tie this series up yet again? Let's find out. First period. And that's a tremendous start. Chelios and McDonald on the fourth line. There you go. McDonald and Roberts have been paired together for quite a while now. So I was hoping that chemistry, the imaginary made-up chemistry, because there's no chemistry system in this game. I was hoping, aside from, I like this player, or I don't like this player, that kind of deal. The morale system's off. Anyway, we're up 2-0 is the point. Second period, and now we're up 3-1 at least. Nolan Foote gets the goal. He made it 3-0. Jimmy Vesey is able to bring them back to within 2. It's 3-1. Third period, can we tie the game? Now see, this would have been a great time for face cam. But I think the silence and tone of my voice kind of conveys my emotion right now. Wow. Malgin, less than a minute later, Lindblom. Malgin again, Desbiens. A 3-1 lead turned into a 5-3 deficit. Nabokov got a goal back with 16 seconds left. The Vancouver Canucks pull off the third period comeback. And we are now on the brink of elimination. That is the most devastating loss that we have had yet in this series. And we've been eliminated from postseason contention. But that, as far as individual games go, that is the worst loss we have had yet. That is absolutely brutal. And now, I mean, what do we even look to do? I don't know. All right, that second line's getting ripped apart as far as plus minus goes. Shit, I want to go down to Nabokov. Third line's doing all right. Fourth line's doing all right. So yeah, that second line is just struggling. I'm going to flip these second and third lines just to kind of see if they get some different matchups. Then defensively, our top pairing's not doing too well, and our third pairing's doing even worse. So I'm actually going to bump up Pushkarev. Likens, unfortunately, will have to be on the third pairing with Finley for the remainder of this series if we can manage to turn it around. Brodin for the first time, which, by the way, his contract's coming up. Brodin for the first time has not been the Superman of this team. He is looking fairly average, and obviously that last game didn't help with that big goal total at the end. But with Marcus Brodin looking average, I mean, we have put up 4 goals in the game, but it's just not enough. We need Brodin to step it up just a little bit. He has to be better than average, and we need that goal scoring to kind of continue if we're going to stand a chance here. First period of Game 5 here on home ice in Anaheim, and we are tied at 1. Sutter, and then 1 minute and 5 seconds later, Kaufman was able to tie it. What a pickup he's been. He's been tremendous so far this postseason. Second period, Horkoff gets the goal. All right, we are up 2-1. It is an elimination game, so we will follow along here in the third period. And let's be honest, after what happened in the last game, Kaufman gets another one. Thank God we broke our rule, or not even our rule, I'm going to call it a guideline. Thank God we broke our guideline of being able to take some two ways, because what a pickup he's been. Marcus Johansson gets them back in it. 2 minutes to go. Can Brodin shut the door? Yes, he can, and we are still alive. 34 shots to 31, 3-2 on the board, and we are still alive. Frank Kaufman with 2 goals, Brodin with 29 saves. Marcus Johansson, out of nowhere, has been their best point producer in this series. I'm a little bit surprised at that, but in a way I'm kind of not, because of course he is. Why wouldn't it be, Larkin or Kucherov or whoever else? And now that I said that, Larkin and Kucherov will absolutely rip me to shreds. It's Game 6. We don't need to make any lineup changes. Why would we? We just won with the combos that we had in the last game. Let's see if we can keep this season alive. First period, and we are down. There's Kucherov. There we go. Note to all of you, don't open your mouth about a player not performing. You will pay for it. Second period, we do tie it, though. Jay Graves gets us on the board, and judging by where he scored, I can only assume he Sparta-kicked Vasilevsky out of the crease to get it. We are all tied up as we start the third period, and we're not. Less than 3 minutes, or just over 3 minutes into the period. Masharine with the goal. Halfway through the third, our season is on the line. Can we get the goal? Please, I am begging you. I got 35 seconds and it's over. Damn it, I tried to pause it. I was going to jump in and try to save the day. The Vancouver Canucks eliminate the Anaheim Ducks in 6 games. That is very, very disappointing. I mean, you have to assume, if we had the option to run like snipers and playmakers, that the offense would probably be a bit more productive. I mean, Kaufman was there, though. I don't really know. I don't know if the dog sneezing would have picked up on the mic. I hope it did. It was adorable. I don't know what we really could have done differently. We had 13 goals for, 15 against, where Vancouver had 15 goals for, 13 against. So literally just the inverse. I mean, it's just that unfortunate. Our power play was at 10%. Our penalty kill was abysmal. That's where they got us. Their penalty kill was spot on. They gave up 1 power play goal on 10 opportunities. Jesus, Emmy, what are you doing? Just ripping everything to shreds. All right, we're back. Had to go let the dog out. I think I remember what I was talking about as far as the power play, the penalty kill. Obviously, that was a pretty decisive factor. I mean, goal scoring wise, Kaufman did well in the box. That third line, Kaufman and the Bokhoff, we might have a pairing for the future here. Graves did okay. Want a little bit more out of Aronson. Really need more out of Chelios. Zanetti. Wow, Zanetti had nothing. That is shocking. And then, of course, you can't really expect anything out of our defense. Brodin, a 923. So, Brodin was solid. He wasn't, like I mentioned, the Superman of this team like we needed him to be. And that, unfortunately, was a difference maker for us in that series against Vancouver. So, while I'm disappointed, honestly a little bit disappointed in myself to not notice just how bad the penalty kill was, but it's hard to tell, obviously, when you're just simming through the majority of the series and you don't, check to see. It's something you often don't think of either. Like, oh yeah, our penalty kill might be garbage. It's Chicago, Edmonton, New Jersey, and Carolina in the later stage. Is Emmy chewing that treat picking up on the mic? I do wonder. Let's take a look here. Wharton's up to an 84, though. I'm intrigued to see what the player development will be. The Bokhoff's down to a 79. Yeah, our lines aren't the same, but you can assume it was Roberts, Wharton, Chelios, McDonald, which, all things considered, and especially with the caliber of defensemen we have on our penalty kill, we should have done better. So I guess we can just chalk this season. We can list this season down as a solid season, but you can chalk up our failures to underperforming players, as Edmonton won the Stanley Cup. Underperforming players and just, running into a really solid team in Vancouver. Like I said, we only had the extra point, the 1 extra point over the Canucks in the regular season. Edmonton won the Cup. They'll probably end up with the first overall pick, too. They beat New Jersey in 7. Almost had an Edmonton-Carolina rematch. We'll take a look at what the Oilers squad looks like. Oh, they signed Austin Matthews. Tremendous. Austin Matthews and Phil Kessel. Reed Spezza, Jake DeBrusk, and a bunch of generated players. Clayton Keller's there. Valeno, Ryan Gropp, Jerry Goldman. What a great name. Defense was Slavin, Sanheim, Hedman, Harkins, Ceci, and Santini. The goaltender was 86 overall. Adam Bogosian, who had a 930 save percentage. So, case in point, with someone like Marcus Brodin, even if he underperforms, we are still, wow, New Jersey, by the way, 3 out of the last 4 President's trophies, and yet they still lost. With Marcus Brodin, we have the ability to win. We just need to find that extra consistency on the offensive side of things. McDavid wins the Selke every damn year. Oh my God. Did we take home any hardware in the AHL? I don't think we did. No. Yeah, it's only happened like once, if that. It still might not have happened at all. I don't think we've ever won anything at the AHL level. I think that's a myth for us. We will take a look at player progression before getting in to the draft. Again, like Brodin right now is at a 92. I'm going to focus on the greens. So Crest is an 86, Wharton an 82, Horkoff an 81. Anything else? Koski Rant is up to a 79, so he's going to be pushing for an NHL spot next year. In the system, Roach is up a point, McMillan as well, Grossman up by 2. Marty, Dick, you monster, up by 20. You know what? Let's just move on after saying that. 73 overall. Osborne's a 72, 71 for Oduya, 3-point improvement for Little. Fleury with a 2-point improvement. So nothing too crazy. I mean, most players on the team, or just in the organization in general, improved in some way. There just might not have been a true natural player progression kind of change in overall. Current overall, the statistical growth, natural growth. You get the point. Some players, they're better in doing well. They're better than what they were. They're doing well, which is all we can hope for as far as the players we have already. The hope now, of course, is that we can find those hidden gems that can help add to our chances of success moving forward. The Catkinson retires. We don't lose anybody else. Poor Big Reg, one of the few players. We've only had 2 players retire young, and I honestly don't remember the other guy's name. Big Reg, though, retires. Ovi retires as a Penguin. Kessel, Eberle, a couple other big names there. Roman Yossi, I think I saw Hedman as well. So there's that. Another season is in the books. It's time to go through another offseason. The draft and the re-sign phase, and it is again going to be a pretty important re-sign phase for us. There's definitely more pressure there as we have the 23rd pick, and indeed it is a weaker draft so far. Wow. Oh boy, though. Wow, LA. It said no franchise players at first glance. That changed. Medium franchise goalie Derek Primo, and he's 17 years old. He's going to have quite a bit of time to develop into a monster for the LA Kings. So keep an eye out on Derek Primo. Cam Beats is a solid selection there. Who else do we have? Just decent picks here. For a weaker draft, the overalls are lower, but you look at these potentials up until the Minnesota selection. It's been decent as far as potentials go, and hopefully we can find someone else who adds to that. The first option here would be Mikael Grossman, the Swede. We have a goaltender here in Will Sparks. Who else do we have? We wouldn't go for an offensive D-man unless we knew for sure. Again, if I kind of only keep to that one time, I can break my kind of guideline there. I wouldn't want to waste it there. Milan Kubis. We have a grinder in the first to second round, Greg Bodie. He might actually be... It's actually maybe a good sign that there's a grinder there. I mean, if we look at the player types that we typically go for, we have a grinder and a defensive D-man or goaltenders. Not that we can't use another goalie. I'm sorting by exact potentials now. And this guy, Hart, might be the right guy to take. Dean Hart, he should be available later on. We do have a defenseman here in Steven Gibson. Not looking like too big of a steal, though, to be honest. 68 potential. Bitts is a playmaker. Got a couple of 70s there. Westcott as a sniper. Again, some 70s. So nothing too crazy. We got that exact starter in Hart. Let's take a look here. I want to take a look at all these high top 9s. Eklund, nothing too crazy. Henrique, we don't know enough about. Patterson, we don't know enough about. Boy, this is unfortunate. I need to look at the guys we've scouted like 4 times. Nothing too crazy either there from Leopold. All right, so it's a straight up crapshoot, isn't it? Good. That's how we like it. I guess, I don't know, rather than, just having easy picks and this being an easy decision. So, goaltenders, I have a feeling there's a medium elite in here. I do. Let me call a timeout really quickly. Aside from Brodin, who else do we have? Aside from the now 20-year-old American, he's a medium starter, 61 overall on the points there as well. Do I go for an elite goalie? I am fairly certain one of these guys will be elite. I'm confident that the grinder would be medium top 6, but I'm really worried that his overall might be a bit lower. I mean, we don't know anything about him here. Greg Bodie, he's 18 though. And Grossman, still the last guy left is like a definitive first round pick. I mean, there's 3 goalies here, a defenseman, and the grinder. I have a 20% chance of doing well. Whether or not that works out for me, I'm not sure. I'm going to go for the grinder. I feel really good about the defensive D-man and the goalies. I'm going for Bodie. Damn. That's not ideal. I was hoping that first round would bring us some really good luck. Oh, Jesus Christ. I wouldn't even have seen this guy listed, but my God. That is one hell of a steal for Tampa, and what could have been a great steal for us had I known. I mean, I called the timeout. Yeah, see, I was hoping that's what our grinder would look like at the very least. I could have called that timeout and potentially just kept scrolling down until I saw like that one steal, but I didn't feel too confident about that idea. Let's see. Kelly was medium elite. Grossman was medium top 4. Yep, all right, well, we didn't start this draft off in a very good way, did we? We had a medium starter, 2 medium elites, and a medium top 4 defenseman. Instead, I went with the grinder, who was an absolute kind of bust for a first-round pick. I mean, there's maybe like an outside chance he eventually cracks the 4th line. Not what we needed to start this draft off at all. And now we really need to try and find a way to recover here. So let's see what we can do. We have DeRocher, 69 offensive awareness. I'm not entirely sold by that. Nesterov is 20 years old, no league interest. 6 foot, could change into a grinder or a power forward. He could be our one guy here. Oh, Heiskanen is also 20. Right. Sniper, no thank you. Playmaker, no thank you. And then we have Hart, who, if I want a goalie, at least I know he's a starter, but now I'm going to be kind of afraid he's a low starter, just because of my luck right now. And then we get into the 3rd round, but to be honest, it's worth looking, just to see what is out there, potentially. We don't know anything about Murray Lane. Don't know enough about that playmaker to make it worth having him be our 1 pick. We got another goalie there in Farrell, but he's not worth it. This 2-way? No, not what we were hoping for. Pisani is 18. I'm leaning towards that guy that I had as a pinned player a minute ago. Some interest in Semenov. I know I'm getting a little on time here. Sontag or Zontag because he's Swedish. Jokela is there. Yeah, I think that's who we're going for here. Offensive D-man, 2-way. Actually, how good's this 2-way? 18. Don't know enough about him, though. 30 seconds. Okay. Gary Pope. And the power forward and Addison, not quite. All right, back to the top of the list. I could go for the goaltender. I'm not going to because he's not any better than what we have already. So my pick is this 2-way, Maxim Nesterov, because I don't know if there are going to be any better 2-ways in this draft that would be worth it. And there we go. That's a bit of a recovery there. Medium top 6 with a nice overall for a 20-year-old. We'll see. Again, does he kind of fit that bill as a power forward or a grinder? No. We'll change him to one of those 2 player types, though. But I didn't have very much confidence, and still don't have very much confidence, that there will be another example of a 2-way or a sniper later on in this draft anyway. So let's double check here what we are dealing with, and I'm going to call a timeout before I even look at the draft list from this point on. I'm sure that goaltender's off the board. Yeah, he is medium starter 52. At least he was medium starter, but yeah, obviously I feel like we made the right choice. Although there was a slightly better choice in terms of players of that ilk, 2-way, the 2-way variety. And that was Heiskanen, who's 1 overall point better. Or is he, though? That's the real question. So let's see. We know we already scrolled through all the 3rd to 4th rounders. So let's start looking for 4th rounders. Walensky, not quite. TVR, the new TVR, not quite. What about this guy, Reed Zanin? Not really feeling that. Roman Rosa, great name. We got Bachman as a grinder, 73 defensive awareness, so he's probably mid-60s if we're lucky. That's not ideal. Rushinsky, not quite. Oh boy, yeah, when they said this was a weaker draft, I believe it. I know that guy had 73 offensive awareness, but not completely sold on that. 65 offensive awareness, 75 offensive awareness. I know he's another 2-way, but I might have to break my rules just because of how bad of a draft this is. I'm going to mark that guy. The offensive defenseman, not quite. We have Steos, Not quite. Palapus. We got Hoyles, even. He's not great either. Daze, not sold on those stats either. We got the sniper, who we've already looked at before. Defensive D-man in Doripos. Be kind of a shot in the dark pick now, wouldn't it? Who else do we have here? This goaltender in Emmerich. Probably in like the high 50s at best. Defensive D-man in Cullimore. He's 20. So for that reason, I might be willing to take the risk. We got Lamoureux. Nothing great. A Finnish dude that we know nothing about. This offensive D-man who we don't know enough about. This two-way in DeRocher. He is 20 as well. I'd go with the defensive D-man first, however. Adams is 20. High league interest, though. All right, we'll save it from there. I'm going to go with Cullimore just because he's a defensive D-man. Kind of fits the bill. Let's take Cullimore. And I'm very glad I did. All right, we have recovered. Cullimore was a very solid pick. The 20-year-old no league interest option works out for us yet again. 20 years old, 73 overall, medium top 4, Neil Cullimore. So we definitely swung and missed with that first round pick. I was intrigued by a grinder being listed in the first to second round. Flat out, it didn't work. It was a miss. But since then, we've done a decent job of recovering as the Rangers get a pretty solid selection there. Rosa was also fairly decent, but not too shabby on our part. I'm just going to scroll through this. I'm not even looking at overalls. I'm just scrolling through this so you guys can see who we missed out on. All right, so let me know, especially like moving on and moving forward, because I know the offseason is going to take a bit. Let me know if we missed anybody decent there. Aside from that, yeah, it's time to look at it again. We got 2 guys left, both two ways. Again, I am not afraid to kind of bend that rule that we made earlier. I'm going to go call a timeout here yet again. I wish I could, pin more than 5 people so we could actually just scroll through the rest of the draft and figure out who the hell we're taking and just kind of plan it all out ahead. Ablocator, there's basically no info on. Callahan, there's nothing. We got that sniper, but there's not going to be enough info on him. Defensive D-man with some league interest at Dundas. Not quite Stan Dundas, though, is he? Scouted this playmaker 6 times. Decent stats for David Kang. Decent. We'll pin him. How about the sniper? Not quite. This two-way, nope. Actually, he was 18. Stoll, nope. Tony Stoll. We got Upshaw, actually 19, two-way, 6'5". We got Michelli. Yeah, not high enough overall, or not high enough attributes to make that pick worth it. Steven Gibson as well with only the 68 offensive awareness. Could be a big risk to not go for him, but that is the move I'm making. We got Ryan Barker. Don't know enough about that playmaker. I really need to only scout guys who have been, looked at like 3 times. Or, at least look at the info of guys who have only been scouted like 3 times. That guy's 19. Defensive D-man, no league interest, 20 years old. David Sullivan. That could work. Oh, let's see. Defensive D-man here in Nightingale. He's 20. High league interest. High top 6, huh? 74 strength. Not the best skater. I don't know. I'm not sold on him. The physical category is going to be low. He's going to be a very low overall. Who else do we have here? Pacioretty is 18. And that brings us to that 6th round where there is an enforcer towards the top half of the list. So who did I have pinned? We have 1 defensive D-man and O'Sullivan. The rest are 2-ways and 1 playmaker. O'Sullivan's guaranteed to have 4-star defense already, huh? Adams is a complete unknown that we'd have to switch. I'm going to go for O'Sullivan. David O'Sullivan, the 20-year-old, don't make me regret it. He's decent. Medium top 665 overall. Will the other players that were available to us end up being better? Let's be honest, probably. And let's take a look here. Michelli wasn't that great. Again, I'm just kind of scrolling through here. This time out, I'm not even looking at the names. I'm looking at the potentials just to see if we missed out. Kang was half decent, I guess. Looking at the potentials and the overalls to see if anybody we passed up on ends up being half decent or not. DeRocher was decent, I guess. Nothing too crazy, though. I think we'll still have some of those players available to us on the short list. No, we won't. Okay, so they're all gone. So let's take a look here at the 6th round, where we'll obviously pin the enforcer. Alexandrov's 18. We got the sniper, defensive D-man, Sven Tarnkvist. Again, he's only 18, but we'll pin him for now. We got this power forward, 75 offensive awareness. That is enticing. Matt Morris. His backup goalie, fringe. Another fringe. We got the sniper. Two-way sniper. Let's see, the sniper. Is he 20? He is 5'9", though, so no thank you. Oh, we got this grinder, Henry McCarthy. We just don't know anything about him. Let's see, we got the two-way. This playmaker. Doesn't look to be anything special. Power forward, Alban. And still don't know enough about him. And then we get to the 7th round, where we have this grinder. That grinder as well. Tollefson as a 20-year-old high league interest grinder. It's actually intriguing to me. But there's really only been one player that I'm completely sold on at this point, and that would have been this power forward. Even though he's top 9, the starting overall might be decent. He has some exact 70s. The fighting skill isn't that great, but I'm hoping Ray Elliott can be half decent. He's a 65. All right, so he's kind of one of those bang average picks. Nothing too special, but not exactly a miss either, especially when you consider some of the caliber of players. Tarnkvist was low elite, but a 53. Reardon, the enforcer's off the board, and that's actually a good thing because he's garbage. When you consider some of the caliber of players that are being drafted after our last pick, not exactly upset that we ended up with who we selected. And that's that. We're all caught up. Beautiful. Let's see here. Who else can we get? We have this one guy left, Tollefson. That grinder, who is 20, he'll probably be the pick. We got a couple of other grinders, because of course we do. The defensive D-man in Montoya, but he's only 18. Defensive D-man and Thomas Dahl, 19. Defensive D-man, Josefson. No league interest, though. This two-way, not exactly sold on him. Rudy Regier. Let's see. Pasi Tikkanen, 6'4". I am willing to break the guideline for him. Para Raquel as well could be decent. Marcus Kreutzer, the German. I mean, we have had success drafting Germans lately, so would that not be worth it, is my question. Hartikainen, no league interest at 18, but you never know. Paulson, no league interest at 19. The sniper and 90, 70 defensive awareness, nothing too great. Same for this playmaker, Louis Chouinard. Then we got this defensive D-man and Salvador, no league interest, high top 6. However, the physical category is apparently very accurate at a half star, which means all of those yellows are much, much lower than they're supposed to be. So while this guy looks like a decent pick, I'm avoiding him. I will gladly be wrong about that and happily blame the game, as Talixon's another decent option. Let's remember the name. Talixon, Armsden, McClellan as well. So Talixon and McClellan here at the end. We got Bancroft, who has a little bit higher of a category. We know a lot about this guy, actually. He might be worth it with his 4-star defense. Remember, we do have a couple of extra picks. So we're actually going to... I know we're low on time, too. We're actually going to be able to find some decent players here. I think I'm just going to go for Bancroft, since he's right there. And I won't have to call a timeout. Bannister's not that great. All right, we're going for the defenseman, Cristiano Bancroft. Cristiano's a name that pops up a lot by the way. And he is medium top 6, 64 overall. All right, so again, nothing too ridiculous. Solid pick there for St. Louis. Kind of a low overall, though. And we do have some extra draft picks. That is going to come in handy for us. So let's take a look. Because there were quite a few players that we could not pin either. So we got Tollefson, Josefson at 19. I'll take him off the list. I have a really, maybe not. I have a really good feeling about Tikkanen and the German. You know, we've had such good luck with Germans lately. I'm willing to break the guideline for Kritzer. And he's okay. Again, another decent pick. Nothing too crazy. Nothing that compares to, say, the Cullimore pick, which looked like it was turning this draft around. I mean, the only pick that I would say we've really missed on was unfortunately the first round pick. And I think that's really the first time you can say we've missed out on a first round pick. I mean, unfortunately for me, it was not a great selection. Although I know some of you are going to say in the comments, of course he was bad. Grinder in the first or second round. But, you know, I think the last grinder we took in the first round was medium elite, wasn't he? His name was Marty Dick. It was worth a shot. Let's go. You know, I know he has high league interest, but he's 20. Let's go for Parakel. Again, just kind of a bang average pick. Nothing too ridiculous. So, you know, we're getting some decent players into the team that could very well be traded for picks next year. Or we will actually send out other players, and they'll be the replacements as we kind of keep up that vicious cycle. So we got Ted Sigalette. Again, I'm not sold by some of the overalls there, although the 79 in speed makes me think that maybe he's half decent. And let's be honest, we have so few options that what's it going to hurt to just draft a goalie at this point in time? I'll mark that Finn. I don't like not drafting Finns with no league interest because it always comes back to haunt me. And then we have a sniper there. So I'm going to go for the Finn in Hartikainen, who unfortunately wasn't that great. And then we'll take the goalie. From there, we're looking at players who are projected to be undrafted. So let's go for Ted Sigalette. Low starter. I was right with his overall being a little bit higher. But yeah, those last two picks, kind of risky selection for the 7th round. That was actually it. I thought we had one more pick. We did not. So after a pretty big playoff disappointment, particularly the one game, game 4, I believe, where we had the chance to tie up the series and didn't, we followed that up with really, how else can you describe that draft other than meh? It wasn't great by any stretch. It wasn't terrible either, but nothing game-changing. And that's kind of what we're looking for, as McDonough's down to a 91, and I don't know why. Has to do with morale, I am sure. We have $57 million, so we should be able to get this to work out, no problem. LaPointe doesn't even want that big of a deal. We'll sign Justice. We'll bring him back, because I don't think I'm going to sign Sigalette. I think we'll probably just get rid of him and count it as a loss. I'm guessing the majority of these players are just upset about the loss in the postseason. That's pretty much what we have to hope it's about, because otherwise we're in kind of a bad spot, especially if some of these guys start to reject re-signing with the team. Let's take a look here. We got Horkoff, Koski, and Ranta that needs to be brought back. Osborne as well. Thankfully, a lot of these guys are RFAs. Nolan Foote is not, and of course he rejected a contract last year, so what are the odds that he doesn't reject this one? Almost hit release on Henderson McDonald. That would have been a disaster. Still one of our decent players. I mean, it wouldn't have been as big of a disaster as accidentally letting go of somebody else, but, I think we'll be fine as far as bringing back players. It's just, let's be honest, the team's pretty much going to be the same. Who makes the jump up to the NHL level is also a question. But out of the players we just drafted, no one's going to make that immediate impact. So I feel like we're kind of in a holding pattern, carrying over from last season, unless we get some solid player progression over the offseason. So let's take a look. We know a decent amount of these guys are going to reject these contracts, I would imagine. I'm just going to spam the button here. Nolan, I think, was the only guy that rejected. If I'm not mistaken, Nolan Foote was the only guy to reject a contract there, which would be tremendous for me. I got $25 million in cap space, so I can just send all the money his way again for one season to keep him. RFAs? Nobody. UFAs? Just Nolan. All right, well, I mean, smart of Nolan Foote to do that because he's about to get paid a ridiculous amount again for one season. We'll send $20 million his way. I mean, he's worth it to us, that's for sure. It'll be intriguing once Freddie's contract is up next year, how we'll be able to afford that, or potentially not. Whether or not we'll be able to afford that next year will be fairly interesting, as Nolan should resign. Indeed, he did. And there we go. So thankfully, the re-sign phase is going to go by incredibly quickly for us here. We know we don't have to bring in any veterans. So the question will be based off player development, who stays, who goes, and whether or not we sign more than one of the players that we just drafted. I think that will probably go down. I don't know. Will that go down as our worst draft in this series? It's up there. It's up there. Let's just say that. Like, if there's a debate over the worst drafts that we have had in this series, I feel like that's up there. Again, not because it was terrible. It was just really average. We had some good picks. We had a rough first round pick, although was there really a better alternative? Actually, yeah, there was. Now that I'm remembering, there was a better alternative, and we flat out missed. Thankfully, it's not going to be like one of those devastating mistakes where like a medium elite 75 overall guy gets drafted at the end of the first round. It's not that devastating, but regardless, still feeling good about where we are in this series. We are over a decade in now, heading into the 2028-2029 season. And after the performance of someone like Frank Kaufman, God, I don't remember the guy who was on the top line for us this season. I know his name, I just can't think of it. But like I always say, the development and the production levels there of some of our younger players, as long as that keeps up, we are in a good spot. And I know some people might ask, by the way, as far as captaincy goes, Steven Hines is still our captain because I'm too afraid to take the C off of him still, just because he might really decline. Now, I am quite scared that McDonald's only a 92, but I imagine that's due to morale. We can actually check through the progress reports. Brooks went up 8 points to a 69. Nice. Kress and Likens. Hines has dropped a little bit. See, Pushkarev, for example, should be a higher overall. McMillan, though, good lord. So, yeah, we're going to have to... I keep forgetting two morale's on, whereas the series we're running on Twitch right now, it's not. So that's obviously why Anderson McDonald wasn't too happy. Right. Well, we're going to have to get rid of two defensemen here, because some people aren't going to be happy with playing in the AHL. So let's go sign two defensemen that we just recently drafted. We know that we have to do that at the very least. So defense in the system. Cullimore, of course, is a ringer to be signed. The question is, who else? And the best guy out of the bunch is O'Sullivan. Odds are Bancroft, Raquel, and Hartikainen will not be brought in. So congratulations to O'Sullivan. You are the best of the worst, and you get to make the AHL squad as a result. Congratulations. Here's your silver medal. I don't even know if it's a silver medal at that point. It's more made out of tin. But hey, he's made it. He's on the team. So when it comes to our defense, again, we're going to have to decide here. We would actually be over the cap, apparently. Is that what it said? Oh, we'd be over the player limit. That's what it was. Okay. Well, let's go over to forwards. And... wow, we have a trio of 79s. Is there anybody better? There's Roach at an 80. Nabokov's at a 79. Green's only at a 78. Yeah, guys, this is actually going to be very time-consuming. Like, very time-consuming, because I'm going to have to sit here and look at the progress reports to see who, what the actual overall for all of these players are. And that's going to be a gigantic pain in the ass. So I'm going to end the episode here. I will do all of that off screen. Of course, I will more than likely save the trades for the start of the next episode, where we'll just be bringing in a couple of extra draft picks. But like I mentioned, because I'm going to have to sit here and keep track of, McDonough is actually a 95, not a 92. He's actually better but he dropped because of the morale system. So that's what I'm talking about. We're going to have to sort all that out. It'll be easier to do it without having to commentate throughout the entire deal. So it was Horkoff, by the way, that I was thinking of that was on the right wing. So with all of that said, I hope you enjoyed the episode. Again, interesting. We made the playoffs yet again. We're coming up on some crucial episodes here, though, where, members of the core are starting to get older. Frederick McDonough is 26 years old. We're approaching that peak time in this series where we need to be serious contenders, and while we have had regular season success, we need to start finding that postseason success. That'll do it for this one. As I said, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, you know what you can do to support me and the channel, the video as well. Leave a like and subscribe if you have not already done so. Links are in the description to my Twitter and Twitch. Give me a follow on both of those platforms if you haven't already done so. And until next time, have a good one. Yes, you have a good one. Take it easy, and I'll catch you later. Goodbye.